Hi, this is Daniela Wolf with Bestie Life, the podcast, and this is your community to support you through the little and not so little events that make up your day-to-day life. From the I've got this moments to the I just can't moments. We are here to empower all women to find and develop the skills they need to find peace, balance, and the bliss in their busy. Through solo episodes as well as interviews with amazing women who share their journey and their story and how it works for you. I hope you find the inspirations to make you laugh, think, as well as maybe rethink what you thought you knew, and connect as we realize that we are all living similar ups and downs and don't have to do it alone. So excited for you to hear this episode, and thanks so much for joining me today. Hi, this is Daniela Wolf with Bestie Life, the podcast, and today I'm here with Kristi Sullivan. She is a human design and self-care expert who is an author as well as speaks on to help busy working moms stop the overflow and overwork and start just kind of being their best and most productive selves. So thank you so much, Kristi, for joining me today.
Thank you so much for inviting me and having me on. So excited to talk with you.
Yeah, I've only recently within the last year kind of even learned about human design, learned about my human design a little bit. And it is so fascinating to me to like have these things about myself all of a sudden make sense. Like, oh, that's why I work better this way. That's why I do some of these things. And so I'm so excited for you to share with my listeners all things human design and self-care and just how it all fits together. So if you could share a little bit, I know everyone's so excited to hear this.
Yeah, well, I'll start with what human design is, if you'd like. Just people can set the stage for what it is. If people don't know, it is your energetic blueprint, and it's based on your birth date. So I sometimes call it astrology on steroids, because we're all familiar with astrology and our astrology sign. But in human design, your blueprint is unique to you. There's more than like 2 billion combinations. So it's really sort of a look inside at how you operate. It shows things like different energy aspects and characteristics, but it's what you were born with. It's not like a personality assessment. It truly is a deeper understanding of what's going on behind the scenes. And like you said, it can be really validating and revealing to things that you already know, or ways that you're like, yeah, that makes sense. That really does describe me.
Yeah. So when people come to you to kind of find out about human design, is there kind of like a set path? Is there set things you look for?
Well, what I always recommend is that we start with a reading, which is my guidance on showing you what this chart means, because you can go on Google and find a lot of information out there, and you can go to several websites and input your birth date, and this chart pops up. It's like a graphic, a body graph showing different shapes and lines and different numbers, and it's confusing unless you start looking into it. But when you come to me, I will talk to you about what are the basic foundational aspects of what this chart shows. And that way there can be some tangible takeaways and ways that you can utilize this information. Because, okay, so you're, for example, a generator or manifesting generator, which is an energy type in human design. But then what do you do with it? So we talk about some ways to apply it to whether it's your relationships or life in general or your business. And it's really helped me over the years, especially the last 2 in building my business. So I like to apply it to ways that it can help you as an individual to decide on decisions you're making or challenges that you're facing, or again, just general sort of validation for things that you're doing perhaps already.
Right. And just to even back up a smidgen, how did you get into human design? Like what was your journey and path to where you are right now?
I discovered it probably 5-6 years ago, and I had opened an email that a friend of mine sent me, and she was doing a coaching program, but the tagline was sort of like 3 myths and 1 life-changing truth. And I listened to the video. I talk about this in the book that I wrote. And I looked at the video because it was so intriguing, and it really was like a light bulb for me. I had grown up in an Eastern European family where the mantra or programming was work hard and to succeed. Study hard, get into college, study hard there, and then get a job, work hard until you retire. And the more money you wanted to make, perhaps the more you had to work or harder you had to work. And it's sort of the system that we're all sort of programmed to be in. And, we do things like try to shift our mindset, try to follow formulas that have other people have followed to be successful. And sometimes it wasn't working for me. Like I had a side job doing network marketing and in an industry that I really enjoyed, but for some reason it didn't feel like it was like working for me. And what I discovered was learning about my human design, which was part of this coaching program I was in. I started to uncover that how I was built didn't really match the formulas that I was supposed to follow or the programming that I learned growing up. And so again, it was like this light bulb went off, and I realized that actually by not overworking, and that's the title of the book, Stop Overworking, Start Overflowing. By not overworking and shifting more into this responding role that's better for my energy, that it would create maybe more opportunities and more success more effortlessly and easily. I mean, of course, we all still have to work to some degree, but it helped me shift. And in the last 2 years, as I've been in this business, things have been in a completely different energy than when I was trying to build it a different way.
Right. And I love that you share that, because I think we do all get ingrained in us in different ways, that this is the path, this is how you do things, not realizing that besides the fact that there's more than one way, that it doesn't always have to be hard. I think the only way we think sometimes to be successful is to make it hard, to make it long hours, to make it tedious. And I love that this kind of is so aligned with what kind of works with you and who you are, that even though you're still working, it doesn't feel like that stressful, overwhelmed kind of way.
Yeah, because for about 70% of the population who are either generators or manifesting generators, the subset, which I could talk more about. But for those types, we really need to be doing the right kind of work that we're passionate about, that lights us up, that doesn't feel like work. And so many of us are just on a hamster wheel or waiting for some other opportunity or not realizing opportunities that might be around us. And we're so busy in the busyness of work that we're not recognizing sort of other options that we maybe have. And when we follow, sort of like this path, and we don't know what's ahead, but when we get there and we realize, oh my gosh, this is what I've meant to do, and it's a different energy, then suddenly it seems like you aren't working as hard as you used to, or you're not feeling frustrated or overwhelmed or burned out.
Right. And I think even though we're talking about, in a professional way, I think how you manage your home, how you manage your family, your life, all those day-to-day things, when it's in that flow and alignment of your human design, that's where it kind of all clicks and the magic happens, so to speak.
Yes, because even if you're, let's say, a stay-at-home mom, in a way that is your 9 to 5 or 20-hour day job. But that's sort of what your role is. And again, when we know we have different roles in life, even like in marriage or being a parent or being a caregiver to, I know I am for my parent, that even in those roles, it's like, how are we showing up? What's lighting us up? How are we enjoying in a way that's right for us? Because that's the other thing about human design. What's, again, a unique blueprint. What may be for one person is not for another. So it's really understanding yourself at a deeper level so that you can start to choose how you go through your day, go through your life in a way that serves you, in a way that's in alignment with not only your design, but your energy.
Right. And I love that, because then, when we talk about tying it back into self-care, it's not just about at that moment when you're doing whatever that activity is and how it looks, but it's about having that energy still and being in that good emotional, mental place to show up, to care for others, to be present, to be your best self in all those other situations, the 10, 12 hours after you've done the self-care after that. And so I think kind of living your day-to-day rhythm in that way kind of contributes to that self-care continuously throughout your day.
Yeah. Self-care, as we know, is like an oxygen mask, and you really need to put it on every day. It has a ripple effect. How you show up then is in a perhaps better way for you. And when you're taking care of yourself, then it's easier to give and take care of others. So self-care is so important. And it's also in this human design theory important for aligning your energy, because if you're doing this kind of self-care, and it doesn't have to be booking a massage or, taking a whole day off. It could just be 3 deep breaths or pausing and, or maybe journaling or writing out a list of 5 things you're grateful for, or taking a walk, or it could be even deeper where you're working with a healing practitioner to like cut through some of your traumas and self-limiting beliefs. And when you're doing that kind of nurturing for yourself, then you show up differently, and it has, again, a ripple effect outward.
Absolutely. You're totally speaking my language, that it isn't just the big moments. It's those little breaths and, pockets of time throughout your day. It's that laughter that fills you up and kind of re-energizes you. There's so many different ways that self-care can look throughout your day that it kind of fits in with all of this, which is why I was so excited to get to talk to you about this, because it just kind of stacks good on top of good on top of good.
Definitely.
So what do you do for you, just to share a little bit, like what is part of your self-care, maybe yours, some of the routines and habits that you found work for you?
Well, I want to start by saying that years ago, I discovered yoga and that mind-body connection. And I just loved anything that was sort of alternative or different in terms of healing modality. So I started to try Reiki or essential oils and sort of liked all that. And while I was also doing that, about 3 years before 2020, when we all kind of faced this pandemic, I was going through some personal challenges with my family, my marriage, my career. And I had been already doing things like yoga. I had explored something called tapping, which was a great way for me to help me with some of the emotions that I was dealing with. I was making sure that I was getting outside because connecting to nature felt really good. I was doing, breathing and just things that I knew I needed to do in order to face some of the things I was going through. And I had, again, done it when I was in a period of time that wasn't in that crisis. So that helps me get through those periods of time. And these days I'm exploring things like breath work. That can change your energy in such an impactful way. And I still do yoga. I love in particular Kundalini yoga.
Yes.
Love being outside in nature as much as I can. Yeah. Are you a Kundalini fan too?
I am. I've recently discovered that as well. And it just, I feel like I've done yoga and meditation by the time I'm done with a Kundalini session. And it definitely, I find myself just so much more grounded and calm and centered.
Yeah. And I think that's key, is that no matter what the self-care is, or it could be, running even outside. If it helps you get calm and centered, if it helps you connect inward, if it helps you feel just grounded, maybe even, or energized, but in a way that's like so key to finding the balance for you, then that's usually what I say is the self-care that's best for you.
Absolutely. And that's why I think learning about yourself is what's going to help you find those things that are best for you, by knowing who you are, what you need, and what you respond to and how you respond to things, I think is only giving you good information to be able to then pick the right stuff. So you're not, for some people, they're like, I can't do yoga, their brain, their body just needs something different. And so that's, always good to have that insight and information about yourself.
Yeah. And if I could tie this back to human design, there's like, for example, the principle that the 70% of us who are either generators or manifesting generators have a certain energy coming from our sacral center. And it's like a large car battery or a cell phone battery, I call it. And we need every day to use it up, especially because once it's depleted, it helps us to sleep at night, and then we recharge it and then we're ready to go the next day. But obviously, if you're not doing that, you're not sleeping well. So what's key for that 70% is to actually do movement every day. Do 30 minutes of some kind of movement. It could be gentle. It could be more vigorous, depending on what you prefer. But there needs to be this movement to move that sacral energy out of the body, to use it up, so to speak. And then it helps you to get a good night's rest and helps you with your health and sleeping and feeling healthy and vibrant.
Right, right. So knowing these things about yourself, do you feel like, do you still get stressed out? Or are there things you're able to kind of head off? Because I know sometimes people hear these things and they're like, oh, then I can avoid stress and I can avoid anything.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like they say meditation. It comes very subtly, and that's a key. There is no like magic pill, even though I talk about that movie, The Matrix, and I'm like, we need to choose the other pill that shows us the reality sometimes. But really, it's subtle changes. So what I've noticed is if I can continuously do self-care in some way, that's, and even noticing when I don't and being like, okay, I just need to go do a little mini meditation or go out for a quick walk. When I do this over time, I still deal with stress because that never really goes away, but I deal with it in a different way. I don't have these energy like swings, for example, or suddenly, as I understand it now with human design, I'm not taking on other people's emotions, because we can do that if we have what's called an undefined emotional center. And that's the empathicness, right? If we take on other people's emotions. So I'm noticing that more, my awareness is heightened, and I can just make different choices. And I think that's what's key, is that now I've shifted. And it happens also on a cellular energetic level. So it's not just my mind telling me, but actually my body is operating. It's like that neural pathway has been, a new neural pathway has been, what do they call it? Like grooved in to the brain. So I'm not even conscious. It's my subconscious that has shifted. So that's what happens on a subtle level.
Yeah, I always liken it to kind of like a path in the woods. The one that everybody goes down is the one that's worn down. And when you're creating a new path, that new neural pathway, you need to go through it. And that's that practice and that consistency part of these behaviors that then make it a well-worn path, that create that muscle memory, so that when you do it, when you're calm, your body remembers at times of stress of like, oh yeah, this is the path I walk down when I'm smiling and I'm happy and I'm in a good place.
I love that. I might have to steal that analogy. It was so good.
Yeah, because, people can visualize that. And that's, what I think is so great about so many of these different practices and ways of looking at things is when you have the visual of like a human design and you see that center and you see these the way different things are connected. I think that's what helps people understand, and it makes sense of it, so that then it's not just some vague concept.
Exactly. Yes. And it can be really complex, the human design system. Just for some history, it brings together astrology, Kabbalah, I Ching, and the chakra systems. So ancient modalities, and it's sort of in a way that brings them together. So it can be pretty complicated, and going in small steps to understand it or to learn it can be really helpful. I call it a rabbit hole. So we try to, peel back the layers of the onion and go into that rabbit hole slowly when I do a reading, rather than it be confusing. And again, we want it to be able to be understood easily and applied, in a way that makes sense for our lives.
Right, right. One of the things I always try and tie in when it comes to our self-care and knowing ourselves is gratitude. I think knowing, what we're thankful for, what we're grateful for, what we can focus our energy on, because I think we're sometimes just so naturally drawn to what didn't go well versus what is going well. What are some of the things that you would say you're most grateful for?
I know that now naturally, like I'm what's called a connector in human design. I really am grateful for the networks I have. I'm grateful for this time because I really did expand and build my business using Zoom and connecting to people virtually, because I know people now all over the world, which is so exciting. And I feel so grateful for that. That's the part of technology that I really do appreciate. Of course, I'm grateful for my health and for my family and my home life, because that's something I've had to be more present in the last few years. And so like just what we're going through, I look at that with gratitude too, because that helps me, I know, not only benefit my health, because gratitude has that benefit, but also helps me just to be more open-minded, which is part of my human design as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's great. I love that. So like we're saying, your book is called Stop Overworking and Start Overflowing, 25 Ways to Transform Your Life Using Human Design. It's on Amazon. I'm assuming at other booksellers online. All the links are going to be in the show note to connect with Kristi. I think, to really just get that information to start learning about yourself is such a great way to take the things that are already a part of you and use them in the way that's going to benefit you most in your work, in your family, in your day-to-day life.
Yeah. And I want to mention that I brought together 25 human design practitioners. So each wrote a chapter. And we all told our stories of how we discovered human design and how it shifted things for us. And then each chapter also has a tip or a tool to help you with finding some balance, or even if you don't know human design, how to align your energy. So it's a really useful book, and you can open up any chapter and read it. You don't have to go from cover to cover. And there's so many different people really offering human design services or guidance that I'm so grateful that I had 25 of them come together for this book.
I love that. And that's just definitely, I think, like you said, leans into your connection part of it, and just finding people who are into the same kind of energy and field that you're in is obviously got to be a great feeling. So
yes.
awesome.
Yeah. And that's even how we connected, because I just use social media as a way to, find other like-minded and practitioners, and as well learn from them too.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So if you were going to give like one last tip to my listeners, when it comes to human design, what would be that thing you'd want them to know?
Well, when it comes to human design, again, if you don't know what your type is or much about your design, the most effective way, I think, for aligning your design is self-care. Mm-hmm. It's doing something that puts you in balance, and with that, your design naturally expresses, and your opportunities for abundance or better communication or better wellness are going to come from that energy alignment.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Kristi. Guys, grab a copy of her book, connect with Kristi through her link in the show notes. I think you're going to love finding out more about yourself, what your human design types are, and how to start kind of hopefully effortlessly really tuning in and living your best life on a day-to-day basis. Also, if you are interested in knowing more about human design, click on the link below where Kristi does an actual design reading for me based on my birth date and time, and you can hear just kind of what those different categories might mean, what mine mean, what processes reading would go through, to hear a little bit more. So if you have time, definitely click on the link below and find out more. So thank you, Kristi.
Thank you.
Thanks so much again for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please let me know any questions or comments that you have. Also, if you can please leave an Apple 5-star review so that this episode can be shared with more women. There's 2 quotes that I love. Alone we may be strong, but together we are stronger. As well as when women support each other, incredible things happen. So let's be stronger and incredible together, as well as maybe just have some fun along the way. Thanks so much, and talk to you soon. Bye.